I mean, one thing we talked about before that I found really interesting was, basically, one thing that I feel like has kind of come out of Twitter these days is that it's the signal to noise ratio is so huge right now. It's kind of, I don't think anyone actually reads their entire Twitter streams anymore. Like, you follow 500 people and that's a day's work right there. So, I mean, how do you, today, from 2007, how do you go about penetrating that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, people think there's some kind of magic wand that social media does that instantly, that if I tweet something, a million people are automatically going to do what I ask them to do. And it's so not accurate in a way. I mean, it's sort of deceptive. Like, when I send a tweet out, I know what kind of click-through rate I'm going to get. And I know if something's going to get retweeted, it's going to, blow my single tweet out of the water. And it becomes sort of a zeitgeist, or there's the concept of nodes, and like spreading it from one node to another. And also, especially with Twitter, it depends on timing. Like, at the first 10 minutes is when people are going to see that, and after that, they're not going to maybe see that again. So you have to repeat yourself a lot. And it's a question. It's a delicate balance of like spamming and then reminding, because I mean, I get people like, "What do you do now?" They've been following me for years, and I was like, "What is the guild?" And I'm like, "Wow." That's interesting.
They were just tuning in for the cupcake chatter?
I guess, but because it's scintillating. It's scintillating. It is almost an instinctive sort of a way to not fatigue the people and not waste their time, but at the same time be able to reach people. And that's the challenge, I think, with social media, is that that kind of penetration. It's like sending water through a colander, and some of it will catch, but most of it's going to go through. So how do you plug the colander up a little bit and still not become a spammer? It's very hard, and the cool thing is that, that is, the important part of that is to get emotional involvement and investment, and treat your audience like they're loyal. I mean, it's almost like, your campaign is not a booty call, it's a long-term relationship, okay? Don't just use me for the one thing you want me to do, and then like, okay, we're done, we're not gonna update our Facebook, and I'm done, my campaign's done. I mean, that's not a way to be able to have loyalty. That was terrible.
Very cool. Somebody thinks you have great shoes. I shouldn't look at that, it's just gonna be distracting.
I bought them and I tax deducted them, so I had to wear them. If I get audited, I did wear them.
Yeah, but going back to, I mean, when congratulations on Dragon Age.
Thank you.
It's going to be really exciting to see that come out this summer. One thing, when the project was officially announced last month, I remember that was basically one of the most like trafficky social media campaigns I've seen in a while, because
it was like 200 million impressions for one day or something crazy.
Yeah, and it was all down to the words "please retweet." Like, every channel you were on, in Friends and so forth, were basically trying to get Dragon Age to trend.
Yeah, and it was, and it's like I said, they know that I'm not just there to get. I mean, I would hope that, I'm there to entertain. I treat my Twitter like an IM. So if I would send a funny video to my brother, I'm going to send it to, the almost 2 million people that I have. Because, and I feel like that is the kind of, approach you have to take. I mean, you're people. You're not just metrics. You're not just numbers. I mean, these are people who have lives and want to be amused. They want to be touched. And it's so important to value every single person in an individual manner. I mean, I still, on the weekends, go to blogs who feature the guild and say, thank you for featuring me. And because it does make a difference, because out of that person's day, that's a lot of effort. So yeah, with Dragon Age, it was an amazing amount of traffic. And we didn't just throw it out there, we had a strategy. But at the same time, I was so excited about it, and people were excited about that. And when I asked them, please retweet, they did that because they knew that it was something really important, and it was almost like a friendship in a way, and I really, really appreciate that. The episodes are turning out really good. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I should give you credit because it wasn't just that one day of the announcement that Dragon Age was making a lot of noise on Twitter. You'd been basically plugging it as a mystery project for a solid 2 months.
Yeah, no. I mean, I wanted to be able to tell people that something was coming, that I wasn't just eating cupcakes or reading really bad vampire fiction. That I was working on something new. But I really wanted to be able to tweet a lot about it. It was everything not to. But yes, for a week before, I was like, well, I'm going to start leaking people, and I have Doug Jones, and I have this great director on board, Peter Winthrop, who worked on like Armageddon and all these Roland Emmerich films, and he. It was a funny story that our DP, I got my director on board because we love fantasy novels together, and we've been knowing each other for 5 years. And I took him to lunch, our annual lunch, and I was like, so, do you ever heard of Dragon Age? And he's like, I just finished it twice. And I was like, you have a job, sir. You don't know this, but you have a job. And like, we never worked. And then he, I was like, well, we need a DP. Do you know anybody? He's like, yeah, maybe. So he comes to me, he's like, I showed the script to my neighbor, and he's like, wants to do it. And I'm like, was he good? And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, if you like him. So then we had a pre-production meeting, and I was like, well, I should look this guy up, right? And I looked the DB up, and it was John Bartley, the DP of Lost, for 6 years. So I was like, all right, I think this guy will do. All right. But it was really that kind of zeitgeist. I mean, I do sort of fly by the cuff and by like emotion and impression a lot, and I feel like that sort of serves me well in the sort of kismet that happens. And I think the internet, like I said, there is a certain psychology and humanity to it that people underestimate.
Yeah, and I think though, what's interesting is, you know, in the internet we know who you are, but like looking out beyond that, like, I mean, I'm actually really interested to find out, like, how was, you went on Jimmy Fallon to promote Dragon Age. How was that experience?
Oh, it was great. Like, Jimmy is a great guy, and he came to my house early on because they have very, very, very smart people there. Gavin Purcell is actually one of the people who he said, we're going to go to some of the leading tastemakers on the web and do like little behind the scenes snippets to launch the show. So he came to my house and pet my dog, and we created a World of Warcraft character together. It was terrible. I was trying to instruct him how to game, and it was just a really funny segment. And I went on last year to be able to do the Guild. Like, I feel like that show really pushed the envelope as far as like featuring new media and tech stuff. So being able to go on and have a new project and like premiere, my trailer was, I mean, it was a thrill. It was awesome, and it was just awesome to be able to open that door for other people who are making web content and doing tech stuff, because I feel like mainstream is nothing anymore. What is mainstream? Mainstream is whatever you're interested in. And slowly but surely, like, the perception of mainstream is going to change because there are way too many interesting things happening. And, anybody can name 5 things that they're passionate about and follow, and they're all going to be different because people play games, they read blogs, they're on Facebook, they watch reality TV, they watch Mad Men. I don't know what that mainstream means anymore. So being able to open up the door to other creators to tell stories that aren't really mainstreamly received, but people will be interested in, is really important to me.
And that said, what was it? Oh, geez, I'm not up here just for cool.
You look pretty, yeah.
it makes the outfit, really,
yeah,
my little notepad. But that said, like, I mean, the Guild, I've been covering the Guild for years, and I was kind of, when I wrote about the announcement of season 5, like, one thing that you guys brought up, Kim Evie brought up, was that you guys are still pinched in terms of budget. And I mean, how difficult is getting the budget for web content right now?
We have a dream deal with Sprint and Microsoft. If you aren't familiar with the show, we did the first whole year do donations, and then we released a DVD, which we learned how to make ourselves. Actually, Kim Evie, my producer who's in the audience, she learned how to manufacture a DVD. And let me just tell you, that is quickly should be outsourced. Because that is one of the most simple, that and accounting, I'm like, please, we have to hire somebody, I don't care if I'm out of pocket. We learned how to do that. We packaged every single DVD, 4,000 DVDs. We literally were in my kitchen with 2 interns who were friends, filling out, like, sending to Israel. I literally started crying because I had to fill out so many, like, foreign receipts. I was like, please don't make me fill out another receipt. But that actually paid back everybody for their work on season 1. So after season 1, we got a lot of offers from studios from awesome producers who wanted to own my show and wanted to give me not very much budget to make it. And I came very close to signing a bunch of deals, but I finally said no. Do you know why? Because I have the power to make this without you guys, and we know the internet better. So our show on just out of our houses is exceeding what you guys are making on a higher budget, and you guys are going to own my show. And I didn't see the logic in that. So we were prepared to shoot for a second season on our own money that we kept from the DVD. And Microsoft came in and said, Sprint will sponsor you. We will release it on Xbox and introduce you to millions of new people. And we don't need to own the show. So it's been kind of the paragon in the web video community, and now for 5 seasons or the 5th season, we're working with them again. And after we release on Xbox, Microsoft, and Zune, we get to take the show after an exclusivity period to Netflix. It's on. We can release it on our YouTube channel. We can release it we can release it on a physical DVD through CreateSpace Amazon. We have a partner new video that releases it in stores. And this is something I still shoot in my house. So it's something, and it's really exciting to be able to see. We have a comic book, so it's really exciting to be able to see us opening these doors and still retaining ownership and still doing it on a low budget. At the same time, it is very challenging because the expectation is that you can shoot everything in your garage with one camera. And with Dragon Age, obviously I'm creating a whole world from scratch. I couldn't do that. I did stretch I called in every favor I've ever known to do Dragon Age because be able to do something that massive was not going to, I needed favors to be able to accomplish that. And it is a real challenge. But to me, I would say to a brand, is it worth it in this day and age when most people fast forward to career commercials? Are you going to spend $3 million on a 30-second ad and then an ad buy that might double or triple that number and speak to maybe 10% of people who will actually go buy that product, and most people are going to fast forward it, and you're going to reach people who don't care and it won't focus? Or do you invest that much money, or half of it, or a quarter of it, because that will be more than most web video gets? Do you put that toward 12 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks of content that's introduced with your brand, and you get quality content with ancillary you could sell it through all these amazing places, have product placement through all these different venues, and then maybe even make it into a movie or a TV show, a comic book, create a whole world with this thing that you funded, and your brand is associated with it. You're making quality. I don't know, it just seems to me a better investment if I was that person, but it's not a model that is mainstream yet. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I did Dragon Age, called in all those favors, because I wanted to show that you can have something that will really affect your brand. And Dragon Age launched 2 weeks after, 200 million impressions with their name at the top of every single blog. That's a pretty good investment, I would think.
Definitely. I think a lot of creators do have certain concerns about working with a brand though, because of where do you stop being branded content? Where do you start being a commercial?
Well, that's the problem, and that's why I think a lot of branded content, falls short, because too many people get insecure and say we have to have brand everywhere. We have to have a C-story with Zabu. He needs to open mayonnaise the whole time. And I was like, whoa, who would want to see that? I see mainstream TV shows, and when I see somebody obviously driving, hey, this is a sweet ride, Kenneth, hey, what about that murder? It's just what? You really think that that's effective? Nobody's going to buy that car because of that. So, but the cool thing about working with Sprint is that, they don't give us notes on the script. They trust that I'm going to deliver content that's not profane, and it's going to be cool and fun. And I take that to heart. I take their trust really deeply. And the fact that they just say Sprint and intro, and then sometimes we use a phone, that and Microsoft, I really truly believe people think a little bit differently about those brands because they know that they're presenting something to a demographic that is very specific, and they know that they're not putting themselves all over it. So I think you have to trust that the internet audience is more savvy than any other audience when it comes to product placement and branding, and they're being forced to look at ads all the time to just trust that people are going to see that you sponsor that, kind of like the old TV model of presented by Kraft or whatever. I would say that going in that direction is the more risky, but the more long-term play.